All right, we'll start soon. Hey, Kent, are you in your kitchen, bud? Where are you at?
Yeah, I'm in the Dallas apartment, sitting here at the table.
In
Got the
Dallas.
snacks behind me. Got Jerry.
Hey, what's up, Jerry? How's it going?
What's up?
All right. Well, we are about to start here. I see everyone coming on. We'll start in a couple minutes. Let's give everyone a couple minutes before we get going. We can just do a quick little small talk. And actually, those that are on, any Cowboy fans with Kent here or not really? Because that's okay if you're not.
Dude, you can't have 50 people and not have at least one person that is a Cowboys fan.
Yeah, we can. There you go.
Go Eagles. Hell no, Todd Kruger won ass.
No way. I love it. There's not a Packers fan. I mean, there's not a
Man,
Dallas
we
fan
got
on here.
49ers, Eagles.
Uh,
Come on.
I can't say much for my team. We won with 4 field goals last night. The
Seriously,
most boring football game ever, I think.
4 field goals, 4 fumbles, whatever the hell it was. That was ugly.
Yeah, that was a rough game. But we won. All right,
Yeah.
that's good. Todd's on here.
Still a W.
Still a W. Dallas, who'd you guys play? Didn't you guys crush somebody?
On Thanksgiving. Don't you remember?
Oh yeah, Thanksgiving. That's right. I do remember. Yes, I do remember. By like 40.
Yeah.
All right.
That's all I care about. I tell you what,
Wait.
the
Go
Eagles
ahead.
find a way to win, don't they?
Yeah. What a game.
That's all I wanted was for them to lose.
That's all you wanted. All right. Well, look, I'm going to probably get this started. I know we record this, and so for all those that have registered that maybe haven't made it, we'll send this out as well. For those of you that are here on time and punctual, thank you. This one's I'm excited to have Kent here today for lots of different reasons. We're gonna share this with multiple different groups of individuals. So just know this audience is not only those here live, those who are here with us. We're going to leave some time for questions as well towards the end. But as we get started here, look, a couple things I just wanted to share. First, as many of you have listened in before, and probably usually about half the audience is brand new to us and half the audience is clients or have heard from us before. This is to inform and educate. This came about because sorry, Alex has put up our disclaimer. This came about a little while ago because our clients were saying, hey, look, I need more content and education on what people are doing with their IRAs. You know, what is this whole self-directed thing? How can we build our business? And so since then, the last, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 months, we've been sharing, I've been interviewing, hosting successful entrepreneurs, business owners, and investment sponsors. And so it's been awesome to share and just ask questions to. And today will be kind of the same, but a little bit different because of Kent's background. He and I have been friends for a long time, and I'll share that in a second. But also what I'd share is Kent is a business guru. When I say business guru, I've seen him teach and train individuals and entrepreneurs how to scale their business, how to grow their business, but kind of in a very direct FU kind of way, which I'll talk about in a second. But that being said, first, actually, Alex, you can go back to the disclaimer. I know it was up there, but I need to say it one more time. Alex, you want to put it up there? We are a passive custodian. And so, you know, our job is to not sell investments or offer any specific tax advice or legal advice or investment advice. Our job is to perform trust charter roles, which is reporting to the IRS, contributions, distributions, making sure your documentation's correct. We want to help you facilitate investments that you like, choose, and understand. And so there's the disclosure. We're not scientists or legal attorneys, et cetera. So thanks, Alex. Look, to get started here today, Kent, I would like to say Kent and I have been friends for what, 10 or 12 years? What's the number? Maybe
Right there,
maybe,
somewhere in that neighborhood.
I'm gonna say it's 10 years. I've been, and I give him a hard time every time, but I've been friends with Kent for about 10 years. He's been friends of mine for about 8 years, and there's a reason for that, and I'll explain. Is when I first met Kent, I think one of the things that we always try to teach and talk about is the importance of education and content and being in masterminds and around like-minded people. I met Kent about 10 years ago, and everyone's like, "Oh, you're the self-directed guy. You got to get with that guy, the Kent guy. He's online. He's creating all this, a ton of relationships. He's finding tons of homes and investment opportunities all online without very many people. And you created processes and systems, and like, you got to get with him." And so I tried to get with Kent, but he was just too cool for me. So I thought we were friends when he gave me his number. I realized that was not the case, until about 2 years later, when I think actually he remembered who I was and what my name was. But I've always looked up to this guy. Kent has been a friend of mine, a very good close friend of mine. And I've seen Kent not only succeed and have success in his business, but he's helped literally hundreds, maybe thousands of individuals. I say hundreds because I know how exclusive you are as well. You're not looking to go out to the masses in building your current business. So anyways, without further ado, Kent, let me introduce Kent Clothier. Kent, did I botch up that story, or where did I botch it up?
I mean, I think that from your point of view, I get it. I'll take it. But I think that, look, to your point, I mean, I definitely am an acquired taste, meaning that I value my time probably more diligently than most. And so that makes me a little standoffish. And so, but as you also pointed out, that, man, we have become, as close as two friends could possibly become. And over the course of the last 8 years, I would do anything for you. And I know you do the same for me. Our families are very close at this point. We've had a lot of good times, done a lot in business together, and equally have helped a lot of people together. So I'm excited to be here, man.
Well, thanks for being here. And so just to kind of there's a lot of different subjects or things we can talk about here. But in particular, I try to relate to our clients, and a lot of our non-clients are new to this, listening about what self-directed IRAs is. And let me just first say, for those of you that are new, I know Todd's not. Todd, you're on here. First and foremost, if you're new to this, and this education, our focus at Horizon Trust Company is to help and teach people how to unlock and use their retirement accounts the way they want. That's what we do. We're a licensed chartered company to allow individuals to basically get access to their retirement funds to invest in what they want. And we teach you how to do that because most financial advisors don't teach you how to do that. And this is not for everybody. This is for those individuals that want to take action, who want to be engaged in their investments. And so that's what we do at Horizon. That being said, everyone loves the idea of unlocking their retirement accounts and using them for what they want. But the next question is like, okay, this sounds great. Well, now what? Okay, now that I know I can invest in real estate or businesses, tell me what to do next. And so what we've been trying to do is have some really seasoned people and individuals and friends and partners from the past come and talk about some success stories. So what's been working for them. And so before we get too much into kind of your history, Ken, do you want to just share a little bit? I mean, as far as in the investment world, I mean, our audience, and what we're talking about today. What's kind of some things that could share and that could be pertained to our audience today?
Well, I mean, look, I sit in kind of a unique position, because not only have I used my self-directed IRA and my wife's, et cetera, to invest, but probably more importantly, being as the founder and CEO of the boardroom, that puts me in a situation to where I have access to some of the most successful, most qualified real estate professionals in the country, right? And so got 250 people in there that are all playing at an extremely high level. Todd Kruger on here being one of them. And so I've watched the impact that self-directed IRAs have had inside of their own lives as well, right? And so watching people, I think the word you used perfectly was unlock, right? One of the things that I've come to appreciate is that we're all just a product of what of the knowledge that we gain, right? And so if you don't have any exposure and you don't have any understanding of it, then how the hell could you possibly expect to benefit from it? And so watching you and others go out there and really help pull back the curtains and educate really, really successful people on how to reposition their retirement accounts and or even just start their retirement accounts and use those in very clever ways to not only either avoid or defer taxes, but ultimately be very strategic on building significant wealth has been really, really cool to watch, right? And obviously in my field, all the guys that I'm watching do this are primarily doing this in real estate, and they're just taking things that if they don't need the income and they don't need, today, and they can absolutely, the nature of their business allows them to effectively allocate funds. Hey, I'm gonna go do 4 or 5 deals in my active real estate business. I'm gonna go take this one and I'm gonna go throw it over in my self-directed IRA or my wife's self-directed IRA or whatever. To watch that take place and to watch what it has actually done for people has been really, really cool over the years to watch over the last 10 years, because I know you do not have to look very far or wide to see people that have created significant wealth and been able to ultimately, in the end, avoid significant taxation. It's been, like I said, most people just would have no idea that something like this was not only possible, but what they should be doing, right? I mean, that's the part that's been the craziest thing for me. Like, once you know about it, it's like, man, why the hell would I've never, where's this been all my life? And to watch so many people have that epiphany has been really cool.
Well, I want to jump right into, I mean, I see you and your team, the way that you talk about business and taking action all over the place. I mean, maybe because we're close friends. And so I can't open up social media without seeing your mug. And, I've only known you as a bald man. So, you haven't changed your look. You haven't aged. But what I do want to just kind of jump right into is you've talked about, and I'm hoping maybe you can share some of these secrets, or doubling down how to how to get the big gains or scale your business, and share some of those things with us. And so before you do that, the reason why I thought it'd be so powerful today, because I've seen Kent do this, literally help people 2 times their business in revenues or in profits. And the reason why this pertains today to this message is you can invest in businesses with your IRA. I can't tell you how many times people are like, hey, look, I'm trying to avoid taxes. I make enough money. I have a roofing company, right? Alex and Alexis or someone else. I want to start this other business, but I don't want to pay the taxes. And so I've had a close friend who said, hey, look, you know what? I thought about moving to Puerto Rico to avoid paying taxes. But now that I've learned that I can start a new business, fund it with my IRA, I can stay in Nevada. I don't have to live in Puerto Rico. And so let's just, so first and foremost, I want to say, if you're new to this, you can, and you're able to use your retirement funds and accounts and self-direct, open up account. And I'll, basically, let's say your money is at Fidelity or Charles Schwab. You can move all or a portion of it in trust with us at Horizon Trust. It would be now underneath in your IRA retirement account with us at Horizon. And then you would direct us to fund or invest your money into an LLC, into a partnership. And we would do that, based upon your direction. And the reason why I'm talking about that today in particular is, if you already have income and you're looking to defer the taxes and invest in new businesses, this is one of the best ways of doing that. So let's just say now, I'm talking about the technical side. I want to get into the kind of the sexy, exciting of 2 timing your business or revenue, some things that you've shared and seen in businesses. So I've prepped you for that. But so now let's just say that I now have my $50,000, $100,000 IRA. I moved it from Fidelity to Horizon Trust. Kent now comes to me and says, hey, look, I got this new business. Or Todd on this call, or, I saw many other people or clients of ours that are on this call and said, I got this new business. Here's what it looks like. Would you like your IRA to be a partner? And I say, yes. I could move my $100,000 or whatever the dollar amount is into Todd or into Kent's business, and my IRA could then be a partner. And it would be a passive partner, right? Because someone else would be the lead, most likely. And we can talk about that as well. But now let's say that's all happened. there's a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners today here on this call, and that will be listening to this webinar later. They want to know some of your secret sauce, Kent, the things that you share and say, hey, look, why do I want to be around Kent? So what would you say some of the secret ingredients are, or important ingredients are, in building wealth? Because now we've just shown or told people they can move their money in an IRA and fund their business and avoid paying taxes on those gains. But let's talk about how to get bigger gains, because a lot of our clients might be getting the same kind of returns, and now they're investing in a business with their IRA. What are some things that you recommend that they should be doing?
Well, all right. So I'll just take a couple steps back. So one, I think it's real important that everybody, whether you're passively investing in a business or whether you're active in a business, whatever it is, the operator of the business has to realize, kind of what season of the business they're in. Are you in that hustler phase where you are effectively the business? You're out there generating the revenue, doing what you need to do. And if you are, then clearly in that phase, everything is about creating, it's about customer acquisition, right? I need to get as much customers, or as many customers as humanly possible. I need to optimize to where those customers, that revenue is actually turning into profitability. I need to basically, that is the first phase that every business goes through. And I use that term loosely, business, because at that point, it's not really a business, right? It's really just a job for somebody. The operators really, they own a job. And then quickly, you're trying to get to what I call moving from hustler to CEO. And really that's that phase where it really starts turning into a business. And, that is all done. You laid it out somewhat here. I will tell you that those are two very different things. I'm sure there's some people on here who actually own their own business and they absolutely identify with that hustler phase. I mean, I've worked with people that, they're doing $10 million a year, $20 million a year, but they are still in the hustler phase. And it's real easy to figure out if you're in the hustler phase. Real easy to figure out whether you own a job or you actually own a business. And that's just leave. Just leave. Don't do anything. And don't tell anybody. And if you come back in 3 months and the place hasn't burned to the ground, you might have a business. If you come back and place hasn't burned to the ground and there is more money in your bank account than when you left, you probably have a business. Anything short of that, you own a job. And that's kind of the great litmus test, meaning that if the business is contingent upon you having to drive revenue, you being the person that's driving everything, you being the person that has to jump in and get in the middle of transactions, finding the deals, doing whatever it looks like, then you don't own a business, you own a job. And the number one way to move from hustler to CEO is you have to get into the mindset of firing yourself as often as possible. And how do you do that? Well, you do that through systems, you do that through processes, you do that through leverage and putting these things in place that allow you to actually start turning it into business, which here's the big kick in the teeth. And the big irony is that is a direct contradiction with what got you there. In other words, you've been rewarded at that point constantly with all of my efforts equal revenue and profitability. And now I have to adopt an entirely new theory that every time I jump in the middle of this and every time I start to do something, I'm literally going backwards. I'm no longer a CEO. So I say this all the time. In order for the CEO to appear, the hustler must die. And that is really hard to do for most people and really hard to make that transition. But the way you make that transition is, number one, you start with the outcome. In other words, Greg, if Jess asked you to stop by the store and go pick up a few things at the grocery store on the way home, you certainly wouldn't just stop there, right? You would almost absolutely say, hey, can you tell me exactly what you need me to get? And more importantly, if you're like me, can you take a picture of exactly what you want me to get out of the cupboard or out of the trash, pull it out, take a picture, so I can then, when I go to the store, know I'm buying the exact thing. And we do that because, happy wife, happy life. We want to be successful in our endeavor. We're starting with a destination. We understand exactly what success looks like. Therefore, we're almost guaranteed that, or we're highly likely that we're going to get it. What most people don't do, but should be doing, is that when you are getting to that season in the business, you actually have to sit down and say, this is what success actually looks like. I see it all the time in real estate. I see it all the time in most businesses that as founders, a lot of people just get running for the sake of running. And because we just do transactions and go and go and go and go and go, we don't know anything else. We end up, not mastering anything, and everything looks like an opportunity. And so we end up having just kind of this mess of stuff instead of an actual business that is in alignment with exactly where we're going. Understand exactly what the outcome is I'm looking for. I know exactly what success looks like. I know where I want to be in a year and 3 years and 5 years, both personally and professionally. And ultimately, just like, when you go and get the shopping list from your wife, think about it. What you definitely don't do is you don't go to the grocery store and go down the aisles and take a little bit of this, and 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 then go buy it at the counter, show up at the house, and dump it all out on the kitchen countertop and say, babe, is any of this crap what you wanted? And because you look like an idiot, right? But that's exactly what most people do with their business and with their life. They do not start with a destination. They do not understand this is exactly where I want to go to. Ironically, if I asked anybody here today, for instance, to come to my office here, the next question would be, can you tell me the address? Right? And you would plug it into your GPS. Why do we do that? Because what you sure as hell wouldn't do is drive up and down a bunch of random streets in Dallas, Texas, and say, well, I'm sure Kent's name is on the building. I'll just recognize it when I get it. I'll know what success looks like when I get there. I'm just going to drive around aimlessly until you would sound like a moron to do that. But again, most people do this in business and in life. They do not start with an actual destination. They have to define what success actually is in business if you want to turn it into a business. Because you're getting out of the transaction game, you're getting into an actual business game. If I know what success looks like and I know where I'm at, well, then now it's just the GPS, right? Now it's just the turn-by-turn directions to get there. There's not anybody on here, including myself, that is there's no path that you could go down that somebody hasn't already gone down, period, right? That's what mentors are for. That's what masterminds are for. That's what coaching is for. That's what, consulting is for. Somebody has navigated that journey. So if I know where I'm going and where I am, then navigating it becomes infinitely easier with the help of others and by my own wisdom, right? But again, most people just run. So one, we start with a destination. Two, now once I know what the destination is, well, now I need to basically what I call, we use a formula inside of my business called our P5 formula. And this is the way we look at every business, is basically say, hey, the first P, if anybody's writing it down, I tell you to write it down, right? First P is, who are my prospects? Who are the people that I am serving in this business? Who are they? Where are they hanging out? What is the pain point? What is the problem I'm solving for them? Do I understand the problem? Do I know how to reach them? Et cetera, et cetera. Like, who are my prospects? Period. Right? Then from there, what is my process in moving that prospect all the way to the revenue line? So is it defined? How do I find my prospects? How do I, whether that's lead generation or how do I find my deals or whatever, right? How do I find them? Is it all clearly defined? Because if I clearly define, that means I can put people in place to actually get it done all the way down, right? So what prospects, process, then, now I'm looking at what are the ways I'm moving them to profitability. In other words, once I've created profits from them, and once I understand what the way I monetize them, what are the other ways that I could potentially monetize this customer or monetize this transaction and scale my business through that? Because if anybody's writing things down, there's really only three ways to scale a business, right? In my humble opinion. I can do more transactions, I can do bigger transactions, or I can bolt on other transactions onto my current transaction. So to give everybody an example of this, one of the things I teach people, all the time, if anybody on here wholesales deals, and I know Todd's done this as well. I know he's on here, is that in a wholesaling transaction inside of real estate, which is effectively I'm getting a deal under contract and then I am flipping my contract to you. When I do that, in at least 75, maybe even 90% of the cases, I'm flipping that contract to somebody that their intention is to buy the property and to fix it up, right? They want to do value add to that property, whether that's single family or multifamily. That's the reason they're buying it. I don't want to go through that pain. They're going to go through it. And so when you do that, they are borrowing money from, whether it's hard money or private money. They are, in all likelihood, they're very rarely are they using banks to do that. They're almost always. And so my one transaction by selling them the contract is actually leading to another transaction where they have to borrow money. Well, if I'm making a $20,000 wholesale fee on them and they're going to go borrow 300 grand to buy my deal, why would I not just have them borrow that money from me? Like, I know the deal. I know it well enough for me to put it under contract. And so they have to borrow the 300, they were going to borrow the 300 grand from somebody else. And they're going to pay that person $20,000 in interest and points and fees over the course of a year, give or take, maybe more. Well, they were going to do that anyway. Why would I not just give them the money? Because if I give them the 300 grand, well, now that $20,000, $30,000 in interest that they were going to pay over there in fees, that just comes to me. So I've now taken my one $20,000 wholesale fee, same transaction, but now I've bolted on another $20,000 or $30,000 in interest and fees on something they were going to do anyway. The transaction does not change at all for them or for me. All that's happened is I've just bolted on. And that one thing, without spending one more dollar in marketing, without having to acquire one more customer, do one more deal, literally just doubles my business. So same transaction, double the size of my business. So that's what I mean by how can I wring out as much profit out of these deals, what we call extending the LTV, the lifetime value of that customer. How can I incent my customers to go and bring me more customers and all these things, right? There's all kinds of ways to do that. So it's all about profitability. And ultimately, then how am I going to measure progress, right? And what am I measuring myself against? Most business owners, because they don't know any better, they measure themselves from the bottom up. What I mean by that is that they're constantly looking in the rearview mirror saying, well, I did better this month than last month. This quarter versus last quarter, this year. So I must be doing it good, right? Well, good is the enemy of great, right? Good isn't good when great is expected. And what that means is that, yes, you're doing good. But last time I checked, nobody on this call is getting any younger. And everybody on this call has got an expiration date. And so if you've got a very limited amount of time on this planet, why would you settle for good when you have the opportunity to be great? So how do you do that? Well, you put yourself in rooms and you put yourself around people and measure yourself up against other like businesses that are doing what you're doing and understand what great looks like. You might be doing, hypothetically, let's just say 10 transactions a month in Dallas, Texas. But if you had other points of data coming at you, you might find out very quickly, well, last month there were 3,000 transactions in Dallas and you did 10. So 10 is good in your world, but the reality of this is that there was 2,990 other opportunities out there. How many of them do you want? And how many of them are you capable of getting? And can you go to? And what is preventing you? What are the natural constraints that are preventing you from being great? And that's how you address that. When you start looking at the business and measuring, instead of measuring from the bottom up, you measure from the top down. In other words, hey, were we better than last month and last quarter? Yes, but we weren't as good as we're capable of being. And what's preventing us from making that leap? And that's where all the magic happens, right there, baby.
As you're talking here, I was just thinking about, and another reason why this pertains so greatly to, you as an entrepreneur and building your business. For those of you in this call that are building their business, that's great. For those of you that are investing in other businesses, that's what I was thinking about. Because I was just thinking about some of the first business deals I either partnered in or I invested in. and who I invested in. Because I truly, people ask me all the time about interest rates. Oh, here's the deal. Here's the interest rate. Here's what you're going to make on this investment. And I kind of missed the boat when I invested in these businesses based upon the deal and based upon the interest rate or equity. I think that's what most people lead with. And what I've learned is what you're investing is the people, and how good is the CEO? How good are the partners? And so I let that be. I mean, what I've learned, rather going after the 20 and 30% rate of returns, getting 10 or 12% every single year, maybe 15%, sure the hell beats that potential 20 or 30 when you end up losing 20 or 30 or 50%. And so investing in people, and I think this is again, you brought up a lot of great points. And so that being said, why, I mean, you brought that up very quickly. You talk to business coaches and owners, you're in the real estate world. You know, I'd say majority of your clients, I feel like, are in the real estate world. You, from the beginning, were very adamant about having the end in mind. Is that a common flaw you see in most business owners as you're talking to these guys? I mean, you were quick to say it.
I'm going to put the things in here. So it's purpose, process. I'm putting them in here. Somebody asked
Profits,
and then progress. How are we going to measure ourselves? There you go. There's the 5 P's.
Yeah, you said it so quickly. I mean, most of the listeners here are real estate investors. That's just the way it is. Some of them have real estate businesses, and so I think that's really great. Some of them are investing in real estate people, partners. But you were that surprised me. You were so quick. That's a common flaw that you're seeing with business owners. They don't have the end in mind.
It's literally the most common flaw. Is that it's well? Here's what it is, brother. Is it prevents people. Look, when you have been. We're all just human beings, right? And so when you are so ingrained into a transactional business, in other words, going from deal to deal to deal, and we all get that dopamine hit, you know, whether you're doing a $500,000 flip or whether you're just doing an assignment fee and making 20 grand, or you're doing a 5 or 10 million or a $50 million deal, it doesn't matter. The deal is that dopamine hit that we all ultimately become addicted to and we crave, right? And you can't help it. You're just fighting your own DNA and instincts when you're trying to fight that. And so it's really counterintuitive to actually stop and say, rather than focus on the deal, because you know how to do that, right? Like, it's like one of these things I say to people all the time: congratulations, you are never going to be broke because you know how to do the deal. You can always go back and do the deal. But now what happens if we actually take, you know, some time and sit down and say, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like, what does this actually look like? You know, the deals that are happening, whether you show up or not, right? The business is growing, whether you show up or not. Like, when you get to do things versus have to do things. And where you actually create a North Star for this business and say, these are our core values. This is our mission. This is what success looks like. Here's the impact we're trying to create. Here's the volume we're trying to do. Here's the profitability we're trying to accomplish. And then now, if I understand that, again, creating turn-by-turn directions to kind of navigate that gap becomes infinitely easier. Otherwise, again, can you imagine driving up and down the street saying, hey, Greg, your office is out in Vegas, right? Well, I'll just drive around Vegas and I'm sure I'll just run into a building that says Horizon Trust. Yeah, I'll let you know. I'll be there Thursday morning at 9 a.m. I don't need your address. I'll just drive. Like, you sound like a freaking moron, because you would be. But people do it all the time in business. And the reality of it is what is definitely more advantageous and makes much more sense is, Greg, give me your address. I'm going to land at 8 a.m. and I want to know exactly how long it's going to take me to get to your office. And I'm going to Uber and I will be there at 8:45 on the nose. I know, because I understand the destination I'm trying to get to. And if I'm in my Uber and the guy takes a wrong turn, what happens? Oh, rerouting. And it puts him right back on track, right? That's what happens. People get off track and they don't ever get rerouted because they've never defined what success is. They have no idea what the purpose of their business is. They have no idea where they're going. They just know they're going. And they confuse it with, progress. And it's not. And again, what I'm specifically talking about is, how do you go from being a CEO, from a hustler to a CEO, and how do you actually scale something? How do you go from doing, a couple $1 million a year to 25 million, to 50 million, to 100 million? That is done in very methodical, predefined, this isn't rocket science. This is proven time and time again. You understand what you're trying to get to. You understand what the target is. You understand the purpose, why you're trying to get there, who the customer is you're trying to serve, and you go deep on trying to figure out how to serve them, right? And then once you do that, again, if you go look at somebody like Amazon. Amazon knew exactly Jeff Bezos what he was trying to build, right? And every investor that came along the ride, he told them it's going to be 10 years before we make any money. But this is what we're building. And then ultimately, when it got there, all these other things started spinning out of it. AWS, which is the most profitable thing they do, right? And Prime, and now the streaming service, and now the logistics company, and all these things are all a byproduct of what allowed that company to be so big and so profitable, one of the most successful companies in the world. But it started with one guy, one vision, one purpose, trying to serve one customer as effectively as they could. I'm going to make sure that you can buy books and I can get them directly to you in a very easy to use interface and as efficiently as possible. That's where it started.
Well, I want to transition this now. Thanks, Ken, to some of your real estate experience. So since we have a lot of real estate people, they want to know how to scale and grow. I'm going to ask you about your first real estate deal, the first one, not the last one, because that one is probably a little easier than the first one. But before I do that, I do want to take a second here. If you notice, you can, if you want to learn more, understand if you have a retirement account or funds that could work for investing in real estate or in a business, etc., set an appointment. You can see here, if you go to horizontrust.com/Kent, that way we know you listened to us today on this webinar or the recording of the webinar. Set an appointment here. Just go here, set an appointment. It's very simple. There's no hard sales call at all. This is more for answering questions and see if we can help you through the process of answering any questions that might apply specific to you. Like, for example, like I want to be wholesaling. How do I do that? How do I title and buy assets with my IRA and wholesaling? We'll teach you how to do that. Or if it's specific, I want to invest in so-and-so's business. What are some things I should be looking for and asking for, et cetera? Set an appointment with us, again, at horizontrust.com/Kent. You can follow Kent or I on social media. And I know Kent answers everything. I'm the same way. Who I am and what we do is very important. And our culture is important, our community is important. So we'll get back to you. So that was my commercial break here. But moving on here, Kent, tell us about, you've done, I don't know how many you've done now, over 10,000 real estate transactions, maybe more. Maybe tell me that number too, but tell us about, because there's some people listening that they're doing their first couple of deals, maybe with their IRA or not. But tell us about your first real estate transaction. And maybe kind of where you are right now as far as real estate, what you're doing.
Well, let me go back, especially the people that are new. Everybody has their first day, right? And their first deal. And I will tell you that for me personally, I was in a very different situation than most, I would argue. I had a lot of success from the age of 17 to 30, building a business in the grocery arbitrage business. I built a company with my father, started it when I was 17. By the time I was 30, he was long gone out of the business. He got out of the business when I was 23. And so over that period, I basically, from the time he left, I took a company from 47 million to 1.8 billion, and seventh largest privately held state or company in the state of Florida. And that happened by my company being acquired and then kind of rolling us up and me kind of staying in a place and keep moving. And then on March 12th of 2000, I just turned 30, and I got into a run-in with my partners and walked out of there, and spent the next 2 years or so, 2.5 years, making every bad decision that I could from a financial perspective, meaning I decided I was going to start a new business in the same industry and go right toe to toe with my former partners. And we battled it out and suing each other. And I proceeded to lose every single dollar I'd ever built in my life. So I went from having millions of dollars in the bank to, 22 months later, basically having less than 10 grand. And to say that was devastating, we'd be putting it very, very mildly. say that at that point, and getting divorced and going on that, to say that I was suicidal would be more truthful. It was really bad. And I share that with you because when you're starting off in business or in anywhere in life, when you're up against the ropes a little bit, might actually be the biggest blessing, and you just don't see it that way. And that's ultimately the way it was for me, is that I just had nowhere else to go. And it was one of these things where after basically that, that huge debacle of me trying to start that business and it completely failing, and me having to move in with my girlfriend, and I mean, it was, I went from living a very, very fruitful life, lots of the toys and the houses and everything else, to basically moving into an 800 square foot apartment with my girlfriend at the time, and had my tail between the legs and feeling sorry for myself. And I am a product of one of those late night infomercials. I saw Russ Whitney talking about, come on down and I'll show you how to sell, I'll show you how to buy and sell houses with no money, no cash, no credit. And I actually went. And when I went, I actually bought the $1,000 course on wholesaling, which I kind of gravitated to because it was kind of what I've been doing in the grocery industry. And so to make a long story short, I did my first deal from the moment I purchased the education until the moment I closed on my first deal was 22 days. And wow. I will never forget finding the house in a classified ad. Basically, back then, the guy was trying to sell his house, and I did exactly what they told me to do, and went and met with the guy and probably over-engineered the deal like nobody's business, right? You'd have thought I was buying a $50 million apartment complex, and what I was buying was an $87,000 condo. But I got it, and it was worth, I think, 125 grand. And I sold it to a guy. I flipped my contract and sold it to a guy for $95,000. And I picked up a check in Coral Springs, Florida, for $8,200 assignment fee. I'll never forget it. First one I ever did. And I sat in the parking lot and cried like a baby in my SUV because that $8,200 meant everything to me. After a couple of years of getting the crap kicked out of me, and believing I was better than I was, and getting humbled like I'd never been humbled in my life. Who would have thought that 8,000 would have meant so much? But it's what it, looking back, it's what it actually represented. But is that I had got the education. I didn't need all the answers. I just took a leap. I mean, I was in a desperate enough situation where I had to do things. I didn't have a choice, right? I didn't have options to think about it and get in my own head. I had to execute. And I found the deal by, like I said, in the classified ads, doing what I needed to do, banging the phones, putting myself in a situation where I was extremely uncomfortable and extremely unsure of myself, had no idea whether I could do it or not, but ultimately got it. And then, having that payday of 8 grand represented some level of freedom to me. That, oh my God, if I'm ever broke from this point forward, it will be a choice, because I actually know how to make money. I actually know how to do something out of thin air, right? And I got pretty excited about it. And over the course of the next 18 months, I did 91 wholesale deals and made $1 million. And I was kind of off to the races. I created a way to create active income. Let's just be very clear. I was not real estate investing at all. I was just creating income. But I knew I would never be broke. And, fast forward a few years later, I got really dialed in. I got newly married, and then had a new little girl on the way, and decided I was actually going to turn it into a business. And so all my instincts from what I'd done previously kind of kicked in, and I started putting in systems and processes and people. And, before I knew it, we were wholesaling 300 houses a year. And to this day, that company is certainly much bigger, and many, many iterations later does, to this day, 800 to 1,000 flips a year in our turnkey business called REI Nation. Our wholesale business does another 400 deals. So, but it all started with me just being so desperate that I had to do something.
Well, what I love about that, and I think I hear and see it often, is you put yourself or you were in a place where there was no other option. Like this had to work. And I would like to say something about that, because I've been around individuals in your boardroom where they've got a business, right? a truck driving business, right? There's an example, a real life example that pays $120,000 a year, but they're doing real estate part-time. But they want to build the real estate business. And I saw, well, the advice and it wasn't even advice, the questions you asked, and they came to their own conclusion, really saying, I'm going to go home next week and quit my job. And I was kind of floored at first, because like, man, you got benefits, $120,000 is not a little bit of money, right? And they go from that to fully immersing, having no other option. Like, kind of like you said, different story, but similar, where they had to succeed. And sure enough, 3 months later, it comes back, he quit his job, he and his wife, in real estate. And I think they made in like 1 month, $35,000, and so I will say there is a lot to be said when you have no other option. You have no other option.
Yeah. I mean, we've all kind of heard, I don't know that people know exactly what it means, but you've probably heard the phrase burn the boats. And what burn the boats is referencing is a story, Hernando Cortez, in the 1500s, when he was sailed from Cuba, and he's went to Central America, Mexico, and effectively every expedition prior to the conquistadors had been killed and didn't return. They were there trying to seize the gold, and you don't focus on that. You just focus on kind of what the story is about. When he got to the shores, he instructed all of his soldiers to burn their boats. And the only way that they would ever be allowed to go home is if they went and they were singularly focused on defeating their enemy, getting the gold, and they could build new boats and come back home. And therefore, they were highly motivated, and ultimately they accomplished what they wanted to accomplish. And the analogy, of course, is that is not necessarily right for everybody, but there are certain occasions where it's certainly applicable that, there's only a plan A. There is no plan B.
That's right.
I'm going one way, and I have no options. I'm going to succeed, and I might die trying, but success is inevitable as far as I'm concerned.
Well, the other thing I'll add to that maybe you'll agree with or not, but I jokingly, but in a serious way, say having kids is another thing where I made more money every year I had a kid. Now, I'm not saying go out there and like multiply and replenish the earth, but kind of. That I'm sure once you had, your 2 new daughters, every time there's this new level of commitment. There's no other way. You have to continue, not only grow but scale.
That commitment for me has always manifested itself in, I like many other people, most visionaries, I will have a propensity to just go hard. Like, that's my natural instinct. I'll figure it out. And what my kids did for me is realize that, as my tattoo says and everything else, the time is now. And so I don't want to build for the sake of building. Like, I want to build for the sake of time. I want to be able to own my time. I want to be able to be with my kids. I want to be a very present father. And I want to be there for every moment, not just some of them, not when I can squeeze it in. I want to be at every one of them. And the only way that happens is for me to create processes and people, and again, scaling a business where all of these things are happening whether I'm there or not. If I'm a slave to the business, that doesn't accomplish that. And so that's what it did for me. Kids absolutely put me in the headspace of, man, I gotta get out of the way. This is bigger than me. I gotta be present.
I think that's what is also feels so good when you and I talk. Ken and I are best friends, and we hang out. Hopefully Jerry can hear that, so Jerry knows that you and I are even better friends. No, I'm joking. But that being said, our time and how important our time here is on this earth, and how much time we have left on this earth. And as cheesy as it might sound, these discussions or how you invest, what vehicles you work with, what investments and who you invest in, it makes a difference. It makes a difference if you're able to be a passive investor someday, and or home more for retirement, or going retiring sooner. These little things, and that's kind of the point with this education, is learning and hearing from successful individuals who have failed over and over again. I know I've done that over and over again, and learn from them and able to teach and help. I mean, my son's in that boat now where I just want to help him so he, has less of the big failures I had. Now he's going to have his own, right? And he needs to have those failures. But if he can, limit his failures to something new, something different, something that maybe something I didn't do. And so,
Well,
he,
let me explain it this way, Greg, because I think you nailed it, right? Like, but I actually, you hit on something that I think is really, really important. I think that most people, whether it's investing through their IRA or it's a new business or whatever it is, they get trapped in their own head. And what I mean by that is that they get paralysis through analysis, whatever you want to call it. They overthink the process. They overthink what they're trying to do, and they're trying to hedge against making any mistakes because they don't understand that falling down and getting hit and getting knocked around is actually progress. And that's part of it, right? For some reason, they look at somebody like you or somebody like me, and they believe, that we haven't taken the hits, and we've taken a ton of hits and made lots of mistakes. And to your point, we may try to save other people from those mistakes, but ultimately, you're going to make mistakes. And I will tell you, if I wanted to be great at becoming an MMA fighter right now, this is an analogy I've used many times. I would, if I picked up the phone and called you and said, Greg, I've read every book, I've attended every webinar, I've watched every YouTube video, and I've listened to every podcast about how to be great at MMA, I think I'm ready. Put me in. I know you have some connections in Vegas. Can you get Dana White on the phone and see if he can put me in the championship bout? I think I'm ready. You would tell me I was crazy, and you'd be right, right? The reality of this is if I wanted to be a great MMA fighter, just like anybody else here, a few things have to happen. First and foremost is I actually have to get in the ring. That's kind of a given, right? And if I get in the ring, the second thing that is 100% going to happen is I'm going to go against another guy that is 100% designed to beat the ever-living crap out of me. And I'm going to get hit. I'm going to get knocked down. I'm going to get knocked out. I'm going to break bones. I'm going to get bloody noses. I'm going to get bruises. All of it is just part of getting in the ring. But all those things don't mean that I'm failing. It means I'm progressing. I'm learning. I'm figuring it out. And then when I get all those things happen, I go back to the corner and, coach will coach me up or whatever, and maybe show me some tape and show me how to get better. And then what has to happen? I get back in the ring and do it again. And I do that over months and weeks and years. And that is how an actual champion is built, right? It actually you got to. And so I think that anybody, when you're looking at your first investment or you're looking at your first business or whatever, you have to have the right mentality that, man, you cannot hedge against not making mistakes. That is not going to happen. There is no world where perfection exists. You literally have to go in there and okay, I'm going to learn a few things. I'm either winning or, I'm either earning or learning. Either this investment is working out great and it was everything I thought it would be, or I'm going to make a few mistakes and I'm going to learn a few things and the next one will be better. And when you kind of frame it that way, then all the power starts building up. Like that muscle starts getting used to getting in the game and being better, just better than you were last time, right? Like keep going. But just sitting on the sidelines with dead money and dead opportunity and dead dreams is a wasted life.
You're always motivating me. All right, Kent, before, maybe not always, but most of the time, I don't want to make you feel too good. Kent, thank you. Look, there's a couple minutes left here. I want to be respectful of time as well. So I think I'm going to have a couple questions before we wrap up. And if it's okay, maybe just we'll take 5 minutes on some questions that maybe people ask. And again, if you want to set an appointment with us, just go to horizontrust.com/Kent. When you go there, just set an appointment. We'll talk to you about maybe your IRA, or if you're on this call and you're like, hey, look, I have an old 401k. How do I do that? We'll talk to you about it. If you're not sure if your account qualifies to self-direct and invest in what you know and want, just set an appointment. We'll talk to you and let you know if it works. The other thing I'll say is where I spent my first 5 years of my career is I was talking to others to invest their money with me when I was 22 years old. People, I didn't have an IRA. And so, but I learned about this concept. So people, if you're on this phone, you're like, hey, look, I don't have a retirement account, so I'm not exactly sure how this applies to me. It does apply to you, because if you're looking for capital, which you probably are, if you don't have a retirement account, you're trying to probably scale or grow your business. You need to find more capital in equity and partners, and people with retirement accounts can be that for you. So if you're on this call and you've got an old 401k, you qualify to set up with us at Horizon Trust. And so I'm going to have Claudia jump on here. Claudia, you want to read a couple questions for us? Let's try to do 2 or 3 questions. If you're Claudia, you still with us there?
I am. Yes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Thanks, Claudia. And by the way, Claudia, she's great. She's been with us for I don't know. I've worked with Claudia for over 10 years now. She helps oversee all new account business. She works with our team that opens up new accounts, answers questions. She's phenomenal. And anyways, this is Claudia. It's good to have a face for some of you guys to the name. And why don't you give us a couple questions that came in that we can answer?
Yeah, absolutely. So it looks like Ellie is asking, I am interested in the mechanics of using money from a 401k in real estate. Possible? Obviously, we know that it is. What are the tax implications?
So I'll tackle that. I mean, again, I'm not a CPA, so you still should, go to your counsel on this. But in general, how it works is if you move a old 401k that you've had from a previous employer over to us at Horizon Trust Company, that transfer, there's no taxes. There's no penalties. There's no taxes. It comes over tax-free, it arrives with us. And once it's with us, then you can invest it in what you want. And then those taxes stay deferred. So there's no tax penalties. There's also not necessarily tax write-offs. Like if your 401k invests in something, there's depreciation, you don't get a tax write-off like you would if it was in your name personally. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
Perfect. Thank you. The next one is, what is the minimum needed to start a Horizon Trust account?
Well, there's really not really a minimum, but what I would say is at least a couple $1,000s. I recommend $5,000. Why? I think a great example is what Kent just shared in wholesaling. You can wholesale. We've got a lot of first timers that will open up their self-directed IRA with us, a Roth account with us, and do their first deal. They'll wholesale or do a small flip or syndicate with somebody else. Syndicate meaning, let's say you have $5,000. You're like, oh, I can't do a deal of $5,000. Well, you can if I have 5 and maybe, or you have 5, and then I have like 50,000 or 100,000 combined with 2 or 3 investors, you might be able to take down something. So your little $5,000 could own 5% of a deal, and that would be a syndication.
Perfect. Thank you. And I want to give a shout out to Wes, who did his first deal from his Horizon account this month. So good job, Wes. $100,000. Nice. So he said, thanks. I don't have, is there a limit to the amount you use for fix and flips from your solo 401k? Keith is asking that.
There's no limit. There's no limit. Yeah, no limit. And there's also no limit to, actually, there's a limit. You can only make $10 million a year in your retirement account now. That's a new rule that came out about 2 years ago. So Kent's struggling with that. He's always trying to, push limits, but yeah, that's all you can do.
Yeah, Robert is asking, what can I earn the first year? Obviously, that depends on what they invest in, but do you guys want to answer that?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
What can I earn the first year?
What can you earn? You can, the percentage wise, you can earn whatever the deal is. I mean, we've had people go their $5,000 turn into $85,000 in year 1. But there is no limit to what it can make, with the exception of what I just said, $10 million. But realistically, that's, 5,000 doesn't typically turn into that. Although it could, right? I mean, that's happened where, the big story of Peter Thiel, right? Who put in 5,000 and his, I shouldn't say 5,000. He put his Roth in PayPal and started his interest in PayPal, sold it for a few $100 million. and didn't pay taxes on that and won't pay taxes because it was a Roth. Pretty badass. Unless there's something really burning here, I'll wrap up here with Kent. Where you guys good? Yep.
Yeah, no, I think that's it. Thank you so much.
All right. So thanks, Claudia. Look, I would say, again, set an appointment if you want to learn more. Kent, you're a dear friend. I appreciate you. Thanks for taking time. I know you're in Dallas today. I know you had a long day of coaching, and I appreciate you doing this webinar with me today. And so, how I like to end all these, and you've had many dinners with the kids and I answering this question, I'd like to ask who I'm interviewing the 3 questions in the last 48 hours. What your sweet is, or maybe in the last week, what your sweet, sour, and service is that you've done in the last week.
What the hell does that mean?
Yeah, we've done this at my dinner table.
I don't know what you were talking about.
Maybe you had too much tequila at my dinner table.
What is my sweet?
Yeah, sweet. Your sweet, sour, your sweet. The best part of your day or week, and the worst part of your week, and what you did to help somebody else in the last week.
Helping somebody else.
I swear we've done this like 10 times at the dinner table. Maybe it was just your kids.
So today I had an opportunity to help some people. Another sweet that happened, sweet and sour, kind of both the same thing. Yesterday, sour in that my stepfather passed away in the last 30 days, and it was for obvious reasons. That was extremely painful for our family. He was a great man, and lived a very full life, and was very unexpected. But also from a sweet standpoint, we got to do his memorial yesterday. It was great to see, so many people paying their respects and, celebrating his life, and not in the grieving stage or the mourning stage anymore, but in a place of really having the opportunity to just sit around and share amazing stories about an amazing man. That was great. And obviously give me the opportunity to be here in Dallas and kind of do what we do here. So all around, I would say the last 24 hours, 48 hours have been a little bit of all 3.
All right. Well, Ken, I appreciate you being on here with me today, and I really cherish our friendship. And I got to tell you, I cherish how candid you are with people, how direct you are in the lives that you change. And I'm also surprised that you went this whole hour and you did not swear. So I'll leave it at that. Have a good night, and I appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.
Well, don't tempt me.